We're just about to start, so you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of the Health and Community Committee, which will be a hybrid meeting conducted remotely via WebEx and physically in the Council Chamber, Derry Road, Strabane, on Thursday the 12th of October 2023 at 4 p.m. So moving just to the attendance, so Alderman Guy. Alderman McMorris.
Here.
Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Boggs.
And Shocker.
Councillor Deeney.
And shot.
Councillor Devine.
And shot.
Councillor Donnelly.
And shot.
Councillor Alex Duffy.
And shot.
Councillor Sandra Duffy. Councillor Hutton. Councillor McDade. Councillor Sonoy Barr.
Yeah.
And Councillor Tierney.
Here. Karen.
And Councillor Heaney. I apologise, I did X you on the list.
Can I also just record apologies for Councillor Jason Barr, who is on Deputy Mayor duties? All right, members, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the broadcasting statement, and I'm going to apologise in advance. I've forgot my glasses and my eyesight's not great, so particularly if you're in the chat box, you're going to be in bother today, but Seamus is going to give me a wee hand here to see if anybody's calling. So if I miss you, it's not intentional. So we'll do our best. Are you looking for a lift home? Okay, we'll move on to the broadcasting statement, and I would like to remind everyone present that at this meeting in the chamber or in attendance remotely, that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purposes of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. A copy of the Council privacy notice may be found on the Council website at derrystrabane.com. Members, item number 4 is declaration of members' interests. You can do that now or as it arises throughout the meeting. Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair. Just both the same interest. I'm a member of Steelstown Brian Oak, so item 4, I think, or 9, I can't remember, the one about the sports committee allocating the funding, and then in confidential business.
Item number 9. It is. Yep. Anybody else? Alderman Hussey.
Not a member of committee, but declaration of interest on the same sports funding, Derby Football Club.
No worries. Alderman Hussey, thank you for that. Members, moving on. Item number 5 is to receive a deputation from representatives of Grenfell United, the Grenfell United Committee, and you're very welcome here today. And thank you for joining us. Before we do that, members, I would just like to make members aware, or to remind members, that there was 2 late pieces of correspondence which have been tabled for full council. And they'll be. They have been issued to members, and they'll be available for discussion if members so wish at full council. Okay, so I would now like to invite our guests here today from the Grenfell United Committee. You're all very welcome, as is our protocol. You'll have 10 minutes to make your presentation, and then there will be a question and answers opportunity from the committee members then. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can all hear me okay and see me okay. Apologies if my camera is not very great. Firstly, I just wanted to say thank you for having us and inviting us. My name is Kareem Masilhi. I'm the Vice Chair of Grenfell United and have been since 2018. My uncle, who was a disabled man, he had mobility issues, lived on the top floor of Grenfell Tower. And sadly, on the 14th of June 2017, he lost his life with 71 others. And I'm here today to talk to you about Kingspan and their relationship, sponsorship with Ulster Rugby, but also just to talk to you about Kingspan in general. Before I forget, also I'm also joined by my colleague and also a committee member Antonio, who was a survivor of the tower. He was one of the last to be rescued on the night. So thank you, Antonio, for being here today as well. So yes, I wanted to talk to you guys about Kingspan. But before I start, I just want to make it very, very clear that I am not an expert in building safety or fire safety or any of these type of things. I've learned a lot, obviously, in the past 6 years or so through what has happened to us and what has happened to our family. And everything I'm going to talk about today, these are not my opinions or my words. These are all factual things that have come out of the Grenfell Tower public inquiry. I have certain different opinions on the matter, but I'm not here to talk to you about that. I'm here mainly just to talk to you about the facts that we know so far about Kingspan and their relationship and with Ulster Rugby and everything else in terms of Grenfell. So if we can have the next slide, please. So this is sort of like a timeline that we have put together, again, all from sort of the public inquiry, all factual stuff. And it just gives you a timeline in terms of what Kingspan was doing before the fire at Grenfell. And you can see, I'm not going to read all of it for you. I think you've had the opportunity to see this before, and of course you'll have this after. But I know we're limited on time, so it just shows you that Kingspan was manufacturing a product and was trying to get it certified for them to push into the market and for them to be able to use high-rise, for it to be used on high-rise buildings. And we can see through the evidence that has come out in the inquiry that, they knew that their product was dangerous and they pushed for it anyway. They tried to influence the language on the certification and they really, really pushed for that. And we now know that the certificate did contain misleading and inaccurate statements claiming that their product had limited combustibility. We know that they also used in 2005 fraudulent test findings to apply further certifications for their product to help it sell. Now, one of the arguments that Kingspan uses that they didn't know that their product was going to be used on Grenfell Tower. Now, whether or not they knew that, I couldn't tell you, but they were targeting high-rise buildings. That was the reason why they were doing everything they can to push their product to get the certification for their product, for it to go on high-rise buildings so they could flood the market with it. And then obviously in 2017, the Grenfell Tower fire happened, 72 people died, but Kingspan's fraudulent behavior didn't stop then. They continued up until now, I believe, and even from very early on after the fire. Their directors unloaded, I believe, £6 million worth of shares before informing the public inquiry that their fire test certificates were pretty much null and void. Kingspan was also recalled to the inquiry in 2020, and further evidence has come out since then. We know that in the end of 2024, or at some point in 2024, there will be the final findings, but it's pretty clear that Kingspan's product was dangerous and their behavior around getting it certified was pretty much fraudulent, and they targeted high-rise buildings. In 2021, we found out about their sponsorship with the F1 Mercedes team. We put out a statement, and we very quickly, Mercedes got in touch with us. We had a very constructive and productive conversation. Again, the way we laid out things to them was exactly what we're doing right now. We just gave them the evidence and the facts from the public inquiry, and it was a very quick decision. At Toto and everyone at his team quickly decided to cut ties with Kingspan, and it wasn't just a sponsorship deal that they had. Kingspan also sort of was part of like a working group with Mercedes to try to find or advise them on sort of more sustainable energies and fuels and stuff like that with the cars. Again, I'm not an expert in that type of stuff, but it's all there. So if we can have the next slide, please. So again, important that I keep mentioning that everything I'm saying here and everything I'm about to say is all from the Grenfell Tower public inquiry. You know, Kingspan knew all along that their insulation was flammable. They kept saying it was safe. Sir Martin Morbick stated in his phase 1 report that Kingspan's phenolic panels contributed to the rate and extent of the vertical fire spread. And they numerously claimed that their product was misused, their product was not part of the cause of the spread of the fire, and their claims are unfortunately not true. There are still senior members of staff that are still employed by Kingspan. One of them, Philip Heath, which is mentioned here, who had wrote in several different emails to tell people to go and F themselves if the firm were being sort of questioned about their product. He was also through emails that were obtained in the public inquiry, whenever somebody were sort of questioning the safety of their product, he would make comments like, "We would sue the arse off them," or "You must be mistaking me for someone who gives a damn." So it's just clearly sort of a behavior within senior management in the organization where these guys just didn't care. They were trying to push their product. They were trying to get whatever it takes, do whatever it takes to make sure that their product was able to be certified and pushed into the high-rise building market. And they didn't care how they did that. And they kept on pushing. And whenever somebody tried to ask or interrogate, they always pushed back and threatened with lawyers and law firms, etc. After the fire, Grenfell United decided to put together a campaign to try to ban some of these materials in the UK in high-rise buildings. And we know that Kingspan paid expensive lobbying firms to push against that. So while we were trying to stop the selling of this product and bring the existing products that are out there down, they were pushing against us, and they kept on trying to convince the government that their product was still safe. A senior QC representing our families and some of the survivors has called Kingspan little better than crooks and killers. If we can have the next slide, please. And then we obviously know about the sponsorship and the relationship with Kingspan and Ulster Rugby. Now we've tried to have a sort of constructive relationship with the CEO, Johnny Petrie. It says here, and I'll just read it out to you guys, that we first contacted him in 2021, requesting a meeting. We eventually met with him in May that year, and we presented him again, the same as what I'm doing right now with the facts from the public inquiry, and he agreed to review the sponsorship. But then in December 2021, when we had spoken to Mercedes, we contacted him and let him know that Mercedes had terminated their sponsorship with Kingspan. We then met with him again in February the following year, where he told us that no action would be taken until the end of the sponsorship contract, which would have been July this year. And then in July this year, as we all know, without any contact with us or anything like that, Ulster Rugby announced that the extension of their sponsorship with Kingspan for another year. Now, I also want to make it clear that we don't have anything against Ulster Rugby or their players. I know that we understand getting sponsorships is tough, and again, I'm not an expert. I don't know how it works for small clubs or big clubs and stuff like that. But I mean, we would like to make Ulster Rugby understand that when you have a company like Kingspan, who clearly have not behaved in an ethical or moral way, killed or were part of the reason why 72 people died in central London in June 2017, this is not an organization that you want to have ties with. You want to have a sort of relationship with, where you have, you know, such a community that rugby is a big part of, and the players walk onto that pitch so passionately. You won't want to have the names across your heart, across your chest, knowing that these guys are under criminal investigation and were involved with such fraudulent activities, you know, before, during, and after the fire. And if anything, we'd like to see if there is any way that Ulster Rugby can have other sponsorships come forward and offer themselves as a sponsorship for them, so that they could walk away from Kingspan. I don't know whether that's something that you all can do. I mean, we at Brentford United would be happy to support them in any way to find new sponsorship, because I understand that might be difficult, but we just can't keep seeing business as usual from these corporations still behaving the same way they did with Grenfell Tower, continuing to make money, continuing to plaster their name all over, major sporting events, and there being no justice or accountability for our families, and for them, pointing the blame and taking no accountability whatsoever. So if I can have the next slide, please. There are other sponsorships that Kingspan have. We know that golfers Shane Lowry and Leona Maguire continue their sponsorship with Kingspan. We have tried to contact them on several occasions to meet and again have the similar sort of conversations that we're having now with you. We believe that their sponsorship are arranged through Kingspan Sport Fund. So I don't know whether that's a separate entity that would need to be contacted. But I mean, like I said just now before, for us, for the families, just seeing their name everywhere and seeing them continue to make money and business as usual, and knowing that the senior staff are still within this organization, it's just a massive insult for us. I mean, we as people have a responsibility to speak out when massive corporate entities or massive organizations behave in immoral, irresponsible ways to the point where people die, innocent lives are taken away. 18 children died on the 14th of June 2017. 18 kids that will never will have the opportunity to fulfill their lives. Their parents will never hear their voices again. Mothers and dads, and I mean, it's a massive number. This should never have happened, but we are still waiting for justice, and we know that these massive organizations and their directors taken to the stands in a criminal justice court is unlikely. But we understand that they understand money. They talk in money. So we're trying to affect their business as usual, and we're trying to form some type of justice for us by making organizations that have sponsorships with them aware of their behavior, their history, and also what's potentially about to come. I mean, the criminal investigation is still going on. We don't really know what's going to happen with that, but we know that Kingspan are potentially, one of the ones who are going to have to answer for a lot of wrongdoing. I don't really have that much more to say. I'm really conscious of time and conscious that I'm talking a lot. I really hope that you go away and I've been able to sort of give you some of the basic stuff. There is a lot more that I haven't said that is out there for you to be able to access all yourselves, and just maybe even do a little bit of homework and find out the details of the things that I've mentioned today. I open it up for any questions, and Antonio is here as well. If there's anything that you want to add, Antonio, to what I've said, please feel free to come in now.
Hi, my name is Antonio. I used to live in the tower, lived in the tower for 27 years, and I just can echo what Karim just said, and it's really very upsetting for me now, and I'm really emotional about it. Reading again what came out during the inquiry and the way those managers and people working at Kingspan behaved, and how they were nailed to their responsibility by the QC back then, Mr. Millett, and it's really, really very upsetting. We would like you, Karim explained very well what went on, what it is going to happen with the report coming up and the police investigation. These people have really, I have to say this, these people have blood in their hands. They are co-responsible with many other companies for what happened on that night. And believe me, it is really something that is very, very, we take very much at heart, and we want to keep on fighting to see changes, justice, and that the truth, will come out, and people have to be held responsible for what they did. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antonio. If I can just say just one more thing before I stop and open it up for question. One of Kingspan's main arguments is that only 5% of their products was used on the Grenfell Tower refurbishment. Now, by my calculations, that 5% contributed to 4.5 deaths. That's 4 adults and 1 child. So that means Kingspan's okay with killing 4 adults and 1 child. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karam and Antonio, for your presentation. At this stage, I'll open it up to the floor if there's any questions or comments from members. Councillor Donnelly, go ahead.
Thank you, Kareem and Antonio. And first of all, I'd like to express solidarity with you and your campaign. You know, having received these slides, it just brings it home, the complete lack of empathy and the complete disregard for the victims, the survivors, and the relatives. The 5%, you know, even they say that, you know, a match will start an inferno, and it will probably be 0.00001, but it's still a very important part of that process. The fact that these people falsified the safety recommendations or the safety credentials of their product is, you know, it's not irresponsible, it's criminally damning. I think, you know, it's despicable and it's disgusting, the behaviour. There's absolutely no remorse, and it's criminal. They offload £6 million of shares, says sort of everything that, you know, let's hide the money so that nobody can get at it. There's other, you know, that there was another proposal came from this committee too, from Alderman Guy, who's not here, and it was regarding Cavan GA, and maybe, you know, it's something that your organisation would maybe think of writing the Cavan GA. It was touched on there about sponsors and how difficult. I don't, you know, I'm not sure how difficult it is to get sponsors, but I can't see why organisations would want to be sponsored by people like Kingspan. To me, it's blood money. You know, there's, in my opinion, there's no excuse for it. At a time on this island, which is very divided, rugby has brought a lot of people together, and with the success of the Ireland rugby team, and they have this hanging over it, is, you know, it's a disgrace. I don't think, you know, as this was an awful tragedy, but what's compounding this tragedy is people trying to cover it up. It's something that we in this part of the world had found out in the past on all sides, you know, that you have the incident and loss of life, but for the survivors and for relatives on all sides, that perception of and we've seen it before in other disasters and that. I think you have seen the recent correspondence that Kingspan has sent to this committee, and I was just wondering, you know, do you have any opinion on that, on what they have said?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on it a little bit, and in terms of sort of them mentioning that the only 5% of their product was used. I did make a slight error, so apologies. It's 3.6, which means 3 adults and a child, not the 4 adults and a child, which I mentioned earlier, which is the 5% of the 72 that passed away. And you know, that's been sort of their main argument from day one, and also the fact that they didn't know that their product was going to go on Grenfell, or that their product was used incorrectly. and that the cladding was the main spread of the fire. Now, yes, it was, and you know, the ACM material from Arconic is another conversation, but we have proof and we can see that they knew how dangerous their product was, and they were leaning on all of these certification organizations like the LABC, trying to change the wording on the certificate so that they could get the class that they wanted. You know, and this has been sort of, you know, they are fully aware of what they were doing and how dangerous their product was. In terms of and that's really sort of been their argument. You know, they say that they've been cooperating with the public inquiry, and you know, I don't know to the extent of that how much they have, because we don't get told a lot about that, but it also came across as a little bit intimidating, you know, almost like they were trying to intimidate and bully you guys, you know, to not have us on, or to make sure that or to not sort of trust what we were saying. And that's why I felt it was really important to explain to you all that, you know, everything we're talking about right now, again, is all, you know, from a government public inquiry. You know, none of these are my words or my opinions. You know, I'm giving you facts. You know, what they're doing is they're trying to, which is what all the other organizations are doing, is pointing the fingers at each other. You know, the Kingspan are blaming Arconic, and Arconic are blaming the council, and the council are blaming the guys who did the refurbishment. No one's holding their hand up. But when you look at the history, when you look at the emails, and when you look at everything else, you see they all knew what they were doing. You know, and the UK and high-rise buildings were specifically targeted for these products. And Kingspan still continue to do this. You know, the fact that they thought it was necessary to send you a letter and to change whatever it was that they wanted to change, and you know, it just shows you the type of organization they are. They use bullying tactics. They're intimidating. You know, and this is how they've always operated, like with the emails when they're threatening to sue people or telling them to go and F themselves and etc. You know, this is how they behave. And this is why I feel like it's important, because people need to know. Organizations like Ulster Rugby need to know, you know, and I made the offer before. We would be happy to help Ulster Rugby find some other sponsorship, and we'd urge any other, you know, people who can speak to help out Ulster Rugby to move away from Kingspan. But they will, I don't think they're ever going to change. They will continue to behave the way they'll behave, and we will continue to be here, because, you know, this is a form of justice for us as well.
Thank you for that, Councillor Donnelly. I'm going to bring in two further speakers, Councillor Hutton and then Councillor Harkin. I'm going to, at this stage, members, ask that we refrain from discussing the contents of the correspondence that we've received, as we haven't had an opportunity to discuss it ourselves. And when we do, and that's fine, but I would just feel fair that if we refrained from referring back to the correspondence at this stage, as it hasn't been tabled before this committee. All right, so Councillor Hutton.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Karim and Antonio, for the presentation. I suppose, you know, the Grenville incident, it was something that the world was watching. It was something that should probably never have happened, and it affected a lot of people, particularly yourselves with family members that have been that died as a result, and also the family members that are still alive. The trauma and the sadness that you must be experiencing must be tremendous. My sister lives in London. She has done for the most of her adult life, and the ripple effect just through the communities where she lives and works was desperate as well. It was felt by everybody. But what I wanted to say is that you have created this voice for the people who have been affected by this disaster. I think you yourselves are to be commended, because, as most of us know, when there is trauma involved in someone's life, it's the support that comes in around them
that really makes it that wee bit easier. So I just wanted to say that you are the voice of those people who are looking for those answers. I think the public inquiry has given reports to the investigation, and I suppose we will all be waiting with bated breath to see what comes out of that. But for me, it's just to acknowledge that what you have experienced as a family, as a community, has just been really, really terrible. And I think you yourselves have created that line of support for the family. So I want to just say thank you for that as well, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. Councillor Harkin online there.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Grenfell United representatives for joining us here today. Sorry I can't be there in the chamber. And I want to really commend your efforts over the last number of years to hold those who are responsible for what was a huge tragedy to account. This was something that should never have occurred, and it sent shockwaves all across these islands and all across the world. And I think we can agree that this happened because it was decades of Tory austerity, profiteering, and because of neglect of council housing by those who were in charge. And I think that the role of Kingspan in all of this has been abhorrent. They clearly didn't care about the foam and insulation that was going into Grenfell, and lied for years and years, as the inquiry was able to demonstrate. And since then, what they've done is, rather than attempting to take responsibility for their role, they've attempted to continue with a cover-up, and are rather now and are using their deep pockets, because they've been making record profits. And rather than plowing that money into remediation, they're attempting to build up their profile by sponsoring organisations like Ulster Rugby. And look, as Gary said earlier, rugby right now couldn't be more popular in Ireland. People are glued to the World Cup, and Kingspan are attempting to attach themselves to that positivity. And I think it's disgraceful that Ulster Rugby has agreed to allow Kingspan to be their sponsor. Surely there's other organisations that could step in there, and surely Ulster Rugby must understand the importance of this, and the tragedy of what happened. And look, I'm sure for you and for us, I mean, there's the issue of accountability, right? And the challenge that Kingspan is part of that. But the key goal is to never allow this to happen again. I mean, and we've talked about this after it happened in London. We talked about, could that happen here? And unfortunately, looking at our housing stock, and also looking at the massive cuts that have been put through to our fire services, it absolutely could happen here. So all this work that you're doing and that we're trying to do here as a local council is about putting pressure on those that created this, to try and ensure that it doesn't happen again. And I think if Kingspan kind of get away with like recasting their image, it won't help us actually ensure that it doesn't happen again. So look, I don't know if you've got a viewpoint in their unwillingness to kind of contribute to the remediation fund, and what kind of pressure we can bring on them to do that. If you have and if you can maybe let us know what else we can do as a council to put pressure on Kingspan, and what we can do to put pressure on Ulster Rugby to break ties with Kingspan. And any other organisation that is in receipt of funding as well, that would be helpful. But again, thank you for your campaigning, and thanks for joining us today.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harkin. Members, at this stage I have no further indicated speakers. I'm going to allow our guests an opportunity to answer any of the questions that have been posed by the last two speakers there, and then we'll try and wrap it up. So back to yourself, sir, gentlemen, please.
I just, Antonio here, I just wanted to, a way of helping, and is to make sure that people in Ireland, anywhere in the world, make sure that they know what is going on. They know that there are hundreds of buildings, high-rise buildings, still with the dangerous cladding and insulation as well. It's not something that has happened and okay, it now is gone. No, it can happen again. So it is something that is still out there, and many people are trapped in their buildings, in their flats, in which they have invested money and they cannot move away because now their flats and homes are worth zero. And it's something that is affecting a lot of people. We have paid and we're still suffering from it. There's not a single day in which Grenfell is not in my mind, in my head, and in my life, me and my family and the other member of the community and ex-residents and families and so. But we have to make sure that awareness is there continuously, and that's the most important thing, that people are aware of what went on and what is still going on around the various countries. So thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. Yeah, firstly, I'd just like to say thank you so much for your kind words and your support. I mean, it really, really does mean a lot to us. And like the councillor mentioned, it's when we get support like this, and it's when we're shown unity like this. This is how we can continue to do what we're doing, because it's a lot. None of us were activists before this. None of us were fighting corporations or the government or anything like that. We all lived our lives, and we had jobs and families, and then this happened, and it just completely changed our world, and we just couldn't not do anything. There are some families who don't have a voice. There's some families who are no longer here with us, and we feel like we have a responsibility to them, to make sure that their names and who they were are never going to be forgotten. What happened will also never be forgotten, because it wasn't just a tragedy that happened on the 14th of June in 2017. It's what's come after that. People don't understand there's a massive national scandal right now. Antonio touched on it a little bit. There are hundreds of thousands of people stuck in dangerous homes, and it's not just cladding, it's Kingspan's insulation is part of that too, and they should be forking up money to be paying for this, and there are groups that have formed because of it. We are never going to get our loved ones back. We don't live in these type of homes anymore. Everything we're doing is, yes, justice for the people we lost, but also justice for the public, because we never want to see this happen ever again. We never want to see people die so horrifically, so publicly, when their lives could have been saved by very quick and easy fix, or had they have just been treated a little bit better, So now I guess there are some good things that have come from this, in terms of the groups that have formulated. People are now more aware. People are now more supporting, mental health, social housing. We're trying to campaign to get these dangerous materials off buildings. We're trying to change legislation. We're trying to change regulation in social housing. And we will be happy to liaise and communicate with all of these small fights that we're having. And if there's anything that you can do from where you are, because I'm sure that some of these issues are where you are as well. We're not just talking about social homes or high-rise buildings. We're talking about schools and hospitals and university accommodation and cinemas. People where our young and most vulnerable go, these materials are on them. And, if you found out that your daughter or your son was going to university that had the same material on Grenfell, you'd probably think twice about letting them sleep there. So this affects more people than we think, than we know. And I always say, we need to see yourselves in us. Our voices are only going to be as loud as your sort of involvement, and being able to do that through these type of sort of ways, or through coming to meet you guys. I came to Ireland last year, I believe it was, and it was probably one of the best experiences of my life. We've had support from people from Ulster Rugby, support from you guys. Thank you. We really appreciate it. We really do need to keep talking about this and speaking out against these organizations. We can't let more people lose their lives because of money. We just and that's what it comes down to. It all comes down to profit, and we just can't keep letting that happen. And we have a responsibility to do something about it and speak out about it, whether we're councillors or whether we're just normal people. So thank you again for all of your time and support.
Thank you both very much for your attendance here today and your attention and to the detail that you have provided in advance of this committee meeting. It has been extremely useful, and I know that other members of the committee have found it useful as well. I think we all watched on in June 2017 in horror whenever the events that were happening around Grenfell were being broadcast across the world by the media. And people here know and understand the value of support that comes from other parts of the world to a campaign such as yours. And I think what has been here today from this committee is unwavering solidarity with yourselves. But I also think that you should be commended for picking up the baton and ensuring that the 72 victims get the justice that they deserve. As other members have said, if there's anything further that this committee can do, or indeed this council can do, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. As I said, we know the value of spreading the word and ensuring that this campaign doesn't go quiet, and that your voice is amplified as much as we can. And if we can help in doing that, we certainly will. But it's my job now to thank you for attending on behalf of the committee. And asking you just to keep in touch with us. And if you feel that there's support that we can offer, please just reach out and we'll be only too happy to assist. But thanks again for your attendance this evening. Thank you.
We will. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, members, we'll move. Oh, I can't see up there.
Mr. Sean, is Antonio still there? Yeah. No.
Yes. All right, thank you. Members, we'll move on. And item number 6 is chairperson's business. I only have 2 items for chairperson's business, and I hope that they'll both be very quick. One is just one of my own, and I know some members will be aware of this, but item number 21 in today's confidential business is the land at Ballyarna Country Park, titled, I think it's titled Brian O's, is it? Yeah.
Item 20.
Item 21. 21 on mine is land disposal on the Steeltown Brian Oaks. But that's the title of the
It's 21 of mine.
Yeah, that's the title of the report that we're talking about. There are a few concerns that have been raised around 2 sort of separate processes which have been going through council at the moment. I've spoken with one of the organisations, and I would request that members would support the deferral of this paper until full council. And in that process, I would hope, in that time frame, I would hope would allow a process for officers from our own committee here on Health and Communities and from the Business and Culture Directorate to have a conversation with the wider groups involved, potentially with the Ballyarna Local Growth Partnership in advance of full council to try and see if there's anything that we can do to bring this sort of tricky situation to a better conclusion. But at this point, I would just ask for member support to withdraw that report from today until full council. Councillor Duffy, yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Chair. And
sorry, just before you do move on, sorry, just Councillor McDade has declared an interest in this report. All right. Thank you. Go ahead.
No, just going to second your proposal around a deferral. And I think that we probably shouldn't get into the conversations around it today, but we do know that there are a number of issues. There's been a breakdown in communication, I believe, but I would like to add that we include the Directorate of E&R, who are responsible for the Ballyarna Country Park as well, because they're integral to those conversations. So, but the conversations need to take place with Ballyarna Growth Partnership and the interested parties as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Absolutely, and it was probably an oversight on my part around E&R, so I agree with that. Is members content with that suggestion? Councillor Donnelly?
Chair, it's all bit confusion, and we don't, well, I don't have any sort of information. And what is your plan? Put this back to full council for what? To have a discussion and confidentiality about the issues, or what? Or will we be furnished with potential issues before that, or what way is it going to work?
Well, I would see it working that it's deferred today. There's a number of conversations, in my opinion, which need to take place, which I've already outlined, and Councillor Duffy has added to. I would hope that by the time we get to full council, that the officers will be able to provide a report, an update on this report, to provide to let us know where exactly we're at, and then at that point, if there's a recommendation to be made, to be put to the floor, then a decision needs to be made. But at this stage, I think it's a wee bit premature to be making that decision today.
It's still, I'm not a lot clear, but I have to go with it because they see what's happening effectively.
Are members content with the proposal? Yeah. Okay. Councillor Lillian Senoy Barr, on chairperson's business online.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in to raise this important issue. I just wanted to seek an update on the repair timeline of the Ballymagroti 3G pitch. I think the ongoing problem surrounding this pitch, which has unfortunately been non-operational for the past several months, is really bringing a lot of issues within the community. I think the community's patient is wearing thin, and we just need an update and confirmation on when the work will start and when we should expect it to be opened.
Thank you, Councillor Barr. I'm going to bring Barry in to provide that update, but just before I do, Councillor Heaney also wishes to make a comment on the same issue. Councillor Heaney.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to Lillian for raising. I intended to raise this issue at a later stage in the meeting anyway, but now that it's been raised now, then I'll contribute to it. Like, we have all, as local reps, been working hard on this issue for quite some time. It has been ridiculously long since this pitch needed repairing and hasn't been repaired, which is causing great distress to the local organisation that does it, because it's lost in revenue all the time, and the many clubs that use this facility that haven't been able to do it, and in fact they missed the Foyle Cup over this issue as well. So it's been running as long as that. The last update I had, and I relayed to all the people involved, was that the work would have started a week ago, because that's what I was assured. And all this week, nothing has happened. There's no contractor on site, and people are now really concerned again. I've been in touch with council officers all week. I've been told they were unable to contact the contractor to find out what the delay was. Now, I can wait on Barry's update. Maybe he has, but I have an update myself, which I received today, and I've relayed again to the people who are concerned that the contractor now has been in touch, that he was unwell since he returned from his honeymoon, but he has ensured that he will be on site next week. Now, I will take that at face value and hope that that's the case, but the situation needs resolved, and needs resolved quickly. So I hope Barry can add to that or confirm that. And I know it's not Barry dealing with it, it's a different council officer.
Thank you. Councillor Harkin. Thank you, Councillor Heaney. Councillor Harkin.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, look, thanks to Councillor Barr for raising this. I mean, this has been very frustrating to follow, and mostly frustrating for the residents of Ballymagroti and others who would use the facility. I got the impression that it was going to be sorted out during the summer, and I'm shocked that it's dragged on this long. I mean, there was a similar issue with Brook Park and the 3G pitch there, and it was sorted out very, very, very quickly. I mean, there was campaigning done by, facility users, and the council responded very, very, very quickly, and should be commended for that. And I got the impression that the council was going to do a similar response in regards to Ballymacrotty. I mean, it's just as an important facility. There was just as much campaigning going on. And I don't understand how if this was an issue about the contractor with a contract, if they were not able to deliver the upgrade as quickly as we needed it, that we would move on and get someone else to do it. So I think it's unacceptable that it's taken this long. And I would like to understand why that is the case. And hopefully Barry will be able to shed some light on that. And I'm not blaming council officers for this. I just do not understand it. And I don't understand why there was an idea of staff at the facility that it would be fixed during the summer. And then that didn't materialize. And here we are now in October, and there's still a lack of certainty around it. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Alderman McMorris.
Thank you, Chair. I just like to highlight too, New Buildings Mug is also in the same position, has been closed for a period of time. I've been assured that the contractors are going to be there next week, but I would like assurances that that's definitely going to happen. And if it's going to definitely happen next week, what day, so I can let them know. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. I think Barry's going to address that in his update anyway, but we'll bring him in now. Barry?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Chair, I was actually going to mention New Buildings as well. So the latest information we have from our colleagues in the Environment Directorate is that a contractor will be on site in both Ballymacrotty and New Buildings next week. I don't have a day. The information we have is that both contractors will be on site to do the repairs. The Ballymacrotty one was a complicated one. Most of the members will appreciate that. We was discussed previously around liability from the original contractor and getting someone to accept liability to fix someone's job that and they couldn't stand over it. So that has led to that extension of a number of months. But our colleagues in ENR have confirmed it next week, but I haven't got a date. But the minute we get the day, we will be able to let members know and notify the groups on the ground.
Perfect, Barry. Thank you very much. Members, I hope that answers all of your queries around that particular issue, and hopefully we see both facilities repaired early next week and back opened as soon as possible for usage between or for the community. Moving on, members, item number 7 is the open minutes of the Health and Communities Committee, Thursday the 14th of September 2023, for matters arising. Alderman Hussey.
Thanks for the opportunity, Chair. Couple of things on 148, the asset transfer New Buildings. Council to act as a sponsor body. Just for clarification, how many times have Council acted as a sponsor body for a community asset transfer? Is that known?
But Chair, I'll comment. I don't think we have that information available. Certainly, I don't believe it happened in the former Strabane District Council. There may be a history in Derry City Council, but we did adopt a community asset policy as part of the new council, and we're working within that wider remit.
It's just it may have impact on something else that's developing and where we're at the moment in Strabane. So just wondered on that issue. Also, the community toilet scheme, Chair, the signage. What's the progress on that? Because I'm aware of 2 community toilets or businesses in the community toilet scheme in my own community, and I haven't seen any additional signage to indicate that they're actually there, and it is becoming a bit of a pain.
Thank you. Seamus?
Through you, Chair, all businesses participating in the community toilet scheme would have been provided with signage, but that's for their particular business, and it should be displayed on the entrance to the facility. There is ongoing discussions in relation to signage external to the buildings, and we're liaising with the marketing team in relation to that, and we'll provide an update in due course.
Appreciate that, Chair, but I think actually that's the more important point, letting people know beyond where the community toilet actually is. If you're out on the street and a stranger to the community, you need to be indicated where you can actually go. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. I'm sure that the marketing team will take that into consideration. No for Councillor Boggs.
Chair, and just to commend, because I know that officers have been working very hard on it. I know Alderman Hussey, like myself, wants to say it as quickly as possible, but just there is obviously a process to go through, and I'm happy to hear that we are engaged with the media team, just to commend officers at the same time that we are going somewhere on it, because there hasn't been any movement up until very, very recently. So I'm just to put a more positive slant on it, maybe just to welcome that there is a bit of movement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boggs. Members, moving on. Item number 8 is the matters arising from the open minutes of the Health and Communities Committee, Friday the 15th of September. Any issues? No. Okay, moving on is item number 9 is the Sports Committee Club Maintenance Programme, and I think it's Barry to take us through that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Members, this is for you to approve award of funding under Club Maintenance Programme at a value of £60,374. You'll see, members, in the report the need to establish and deliver our Club Maintenance Programme as one of our key recommendations of our playing pitch strategy. And clubs are eligible to apply for up to £2,000 for maintenance works to their playing facilities. The assessment panel recommendations were presented to the Sports Committee in September, and you'll see in your Appendix A those clubs for your consideration. The total budget, members, as you're aware, is 60,000, and that is a budget that was held in reserves. We don't have any recurrent budget allocated to this programme, and to continue beyond this year will require recurrent revenue within rates, members, going forward. So there is an anticipated underspends within sports development budgets that can cover the entire budget. So the recommendation is that you approve the award of fund to sports clubs as it detailed in Appendix A to the value of £60,374.80. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Barry, for that. Councillor Boggs.
Chair, and happy to propose the recommendation on the report, and also just to say that it's very, very welcome that clubs are getting us funding. Like every kind of sector across society, there's a cost of living crisis, and that is impacting on our sports clubs, and particularly some of the plans that they would like to develop but more quickly than they can. And I know that in particular, some of the clubs that are listed within the report, that the funding that they're going to receive is going to be of massive benefit to them. So happy to propose, as I said, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boggs. Proposing that paper, can I get a seconder, please? Sorry, Alderman, you want to speak or do you want to second it?
I'll second it, but I'm just welcoming it as well. I know this is vital for a lot of sporting groups out there, so I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. So it's proposed by Councillor Boggs, seconded by Alderman McMorris. Members, moving on, item number 10, Foil Search and Rescue Community Support Fund.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this is to seek your approval to award the full funding of 15,000 for Foil Search and Rescue for this financial year 23-24. You'll be aware, members, because we hadn't got letters of offer from DFC on the Community Support Fund, we weren't able to offer the full year's funding, but those letters of offer have now come in, and we're seeking your approval for Q3 and Q4 expenditure relating to our Community Support Fund. So, members, that's the gist of it. £15,000 approval for Foil Search and Rescue, and you approve the expenditure relating to Q3 and 4. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. Councillor Hutton.
Thank you, Chair. This is, we welcome the awarding of the funding to Foil Search and Rescue. It's a great, good news story. The work that they do here in the community is vital to keeping people alive and getting people into the services that they need. I had witnessed the work that they do firsthand over the past couple of months. We had been involved in the celebration of life with Danny Quigley and Foil Search and Rescue in the Bogside and Brandywell Health Forum. So getting to be in the centre, being on the boats and just seeing the day-to-day running and how they really need as much funding as they can. So it's great that council can support them in this way and help them to keep up the great work that they are doing, saving lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm guessing that was a proposal to accept the recommendation. I'll second that. Just to echo just what Councillor Hutton has said, that we are in desperate need of this. Unfortunately, mental health is just getting worse and worse in the town, and there's more and more suicidality. And I wish we didn't need it, but we do. And the service it provides is massively important for our city and district. So just welcome the funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McDade. I think it's fantastic that we're able to support fire search and rescue and long may it continue whilst their services is needed. I don't know whether anyone's seen it the other night, but Dana also got them a wee bit of money, £10,000 through the Chase Game Show, I think it was. So I'm sure they'll appreciate that bit of funding as well. But as long as we can support them, we should continue to support them, in my view. Item number 11 is the Social Supermarket Support Fund.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this is to update you on the Social Supermarket Support Fund for this financial year and to seek approval for an allocation of 12,951.65 pence to each of the 11 approved delivery partners. Members, you'll be aware that the DFC has operated a social supermarket pilot since October 17, and this previously included 2 pilot projects in the council area. A co-design steering group has been established for the council area, and it includes representation from DFC, the council, the 8 local community partnership boards, food banks, the social supermarkets and the statutory agencies. The role of this steering group is to look at the development of a tailored model that best meets the needs of local communities and builds on our existing structures and partnerships. As previously approved by members, any additional funding provided for this will be delivered through the existing delivery partners outlined below, and you'll see that's the 8 growth partnerships: Strabane Community Project, the Churches Trust and Foyle Food Bank. Previously, Apex Housing Association also received an allocation. However, Apex Social Supermarket has since delegated the management of this to Foyle Food Bank. So members, to ensure that proposals developed by each of the 11 delivery partners met with the objectives and principles of a social supermarket, all proposals have been agreed and signed off by DFC, and you'll see those in Appendix A to K that have been signed off. The MOU with DFC outlines the social supermarket programme funding provided to council is not available to provide direct payments to vulnerable people, nor for the provision of any other form of direct support where an assessment of need has not been carried out and referrals to complementary supports made. So with regards to the funding, members, there's an additional just over £10,000 you'll see in section 4.3 to bring the total award up to 132,786. So in terms of the recommendation, that you approve the 11 social supermarket proposals outlined in your appendices, and that members approve the allocation to the 11 delivery partners, and that's Dennett Interchange, Derrick Valley Care, Egland Community Limited, Strabane Health Improvement Project, Greater Shantallow Area Partnership, Bogside and Brandywell Initiative, Waterside Neighbourhood Partnership, Ballymac Hazelbank Community Partnership, Foyle Food Bank, Strabane Community Project, and the Churches Trust. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. And members, just to make you aware, Councillor Devine in the chat box has declared an interest as a member of the Derrick Local Growth Partnership. And I would also like to declare an interest as a board member of the Greater Shantallow Area Partnership. Alderman McMorris, are you on the paper declaring an interest?
I'm declaring an interest just on Waterside Neighbourhood Partnership.
Thank you. Councillor Boggs.
Spare on the same.
Councillor Duffy, GSAP. Yep. Councillor Duffy, Alex Duffy.
Vaughan, Growth Board.
Councillor McDade.
GSAP as well.
Okay. Mayor, everybody's got a declaration of interest in their own DEA. But anybody with a particular one on an organisation in the DEA probably should declare that. So we'll go to indicated speakers. on the paper itself, not the declaration of interest. Alderman Hussey.
Thanks for the opportunity. As I said at the beginning, I'm not a member of the committee. Declaration as a member of the DERG Growth Partnership. I've heard some debate lately reference the differential between a social supermarket and a food bank, and that a social supermarket is actually more desirable than a food bank. Can any of the officers explain the differential to me? I suspect, it's food vis-a-vis the fuller supermarket availability of products. I don't know, but there's just that issue. There's also a feeling, I know within our own local growth partnership board, in the past we've been able, in Derg, and I believe in the Spurn rural, there has been the availability or the potential of working with the established social supermarket Strabane Community Project. And is that envisaged going forward, or is it envisaged that each will sit on their own, that basically there will be no food bank support to those wider rural areas that would be closer and more available within the urban areas? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. Number of questions there, Alderman Hussey. I'm going to ask Barry if he wants to try and respond.
Yeah, in terms of the response to the first one, without getting into a narrative of what it is, there's the social supermarket scheme is a wraparound service. It's more than just a food bank. A food bank is obviously there, they do provide other services, but families can go and get support, be it food or whatever else. The social supermarket is a more detailed and a bigger wraparound service, a number of partners, and they look at things holistically. But look, we can get the detail. DFC have come up with a definition around all of this, what that is. I don't have that off the top of my head to try and distinguish all of the differences between it, but food banks can become members and partners of social supermarket schemes and offer certain services within that. With regard to your second question, if you could repeat that, I'm not quite sure what was being asked.
Yeah. We found on previous schemes, we need that extra support from established food bank type provision. And that has been achieved in partnership and cooperation with, in our case in the DERG, with Strabane Community Project. And I'm just wondering, is that envisaged that going forward, that type of assistance to those areas that don't have access to established food bank, social supermarket, would be continued?
Through yourself, Chair. Yeah, that is the plan, Alderman Hussey. As long as the funding continues to come from DFC and other partners, that would be the plan. This has evolved since the inception back in 2017, and has grown quite a bit with the number of partners and the involvement at local growth partnership level, the Churches Trust, food banks, the Legacy Band partnership and things like that. So yeah, that would be the envisaged way that things would move forward, subject to the funding being in place and continuing over the next number of years.
Thanks for that, Barry. Thank you, Alderman Hussey. Councillor Deeney.
Yep, just to say that we're happy to propose, and just that we're delighted to see the brilliant work continue here. Unfortunately, we are in a cost of living crisis, and this vital piece of work is vital for people across all our communities. And just to say, I'm personally delighted to see the Waterside Neighbourhood Partnership on the list, because I see firsthand the amazing work that they do in my DEA. So thank you, and delighted to propose.
Thank you, Councillor Deeney. Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, same again. Happy to second the proposal. And actually just looking through the actual projects that are proposed, it's unbelievable. And I suppose the difference, whenever I read it, the difference in a food bank and a social supermarket, if you look at each of those projects, they're all so different. They're all providing something very specific to different areas that have obviously been fed into from the community. And I just thought it was interesting, even looking at, I think it was Spurns one, there's a line in it that says something like, you don't have to attend in your own community. We can find you somewhere else in that ward to go. And that's about pride. People are still kind of, they had to let their pride down a wee bit to go and use a social supermarket as such, or use one of these projects. And it's a shame that we are in this cost of living crisis and people of all kind of walks of life are having to actually make use of it. So we need to do better generally as a society, I think. So we're not having to use this, but at the minute, I'm delighted to see the money coming, and I think it'll be put to great use. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McDade. Alderman McMorris.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say, I also endorse this here scheme. I also know the good work at Waterside Neighbourhood Partnership do in relation to this. And hopefully this is something that we can distinguish in the future, that we don't have a need for it. Do you know what I mean? But it's very welcomed at the minute, and it's widely used. And I can't stress enough the benefit that it gives to people within our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Been proposed by Councillor Deeney, seconded by Councillor McDade. Happy enough to move on, members? Yep. Okay. Members, item number 12 to 17 are open for information. Councillor Duffy.
Just want to make comment on item 12, which is the women in sport. I think I'm really glad to see this report come forward. We did attend that meeting last year. I think it was an online meeting, which was really, really useful. But then coming up to March and International Women's Day, as the Mayor, I wanted to put a particular focus on women and girls in sport. And I want to pay particular thanks to Ryan and council officers who work with me on that. It was a really successful day. We had so much buy-in from sports right across the community. We had a professional golf player who had come down. I think she had come down from Coleraine. We had the Man United Foundation. We had the ladies football. We had Derry GAA. We had I have to give particular mention to my husband because he was there doing boxing. So there were, but the whole event was so well supported by the sports. Unfortunately, we picked a bad day with schools going off for the Easter holidays, but we still had really good buy-in from a lot of girls throughout the community. I would really like to see that built on because the taster sessions were really fantastic. The action plan that is proposed, I really look forward to seeing it being pursued, because you do have to see it. Do you believe it? And that is the tagline in terms of promoting women in sport. And it has to be from grassroots right through to the boardroom, be that coaching, be that participating or officiating, whatever role that you have within sport. We have seen the drop off of girls as they move from primary into secondary education. And that's really important that we make sure that we give those girls the role models who they can aspire to. So really welcome this programme and look forward to seeing it rolled out.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Heaney.
Thanks, Chair. It's just a comment, maybe ask a question on item 15, which is the EQAA of the Department of Communities budget and the outcome of it. It's, of course, disappointing to say the least that once again, they have not recognised any equality impact coming from the cut of the Route Support Grant. And the proposal is that the budget is cut by 4 million from last year, which will have a huge impact on this council and other councils that receive that grant and make the rates process that we'll be entering again even worse than it already is. I suppose the question is, and I don't know if there's any officers on the call that can answer this, but I'll ask it anyway. There's no mention in the paper of the court case that this council has taken jointly with Mid Ulster, challenging the fact that there's no equality impacts coming out of this decision. So could I get a rationale for that, or just an update on where the court case process is at? As I say, if there's no one can answer it here, I'm happy that the question is taken away and an answer is brought back in an hour form.
Members, just to say, no, we don't have an update. We know the lead legal services officer has been very busy in court over the last few days, and I would imagine that he would be intending to give you that update. I'm not sure if there's a final outcome, but he will update you at full council.
Thank you for that, Karen and Councillor Heaney. Members, no further indicated speakers on the items for information, so I'm going to move on, and we're going to go on to confidential business. Sean, if you can. Thank you. We'll just give it a wee minute or two, members, to run confidential.